Hi, hey, hello. New segment.
New segment. This is the. We're gonna start doing
We're great at this.
we're gonna start doing movie reviews like we've been talking about in random videos.
Yeah,
every
like
once in
we
a
said in
while.
our intro, and it's been like months since we've even tried to do it.
Yeah, we had a couple attempts in the past, and one was for Sleepaway Camp, which we're gonna have to come back to.
You'll get that later.
But we didn't really like how they turned out, so this is our new attempt. And we're going to try to keep them quick and simple. And probably get into some spoilers towards the end, but we'll let you know before that happens. This episode is going to be...
Dario Argento's Suspiria.
Which, just see what we think in a second. All right, so off the bat, the plot. Well, we kind of think we know what it is.
I've watched this movie 4, 5 times, I think.
Yeah, I watched it I'll say 1.5 because we got like about halfway through before I fell asleep.
That's what happened to me the first time I watched it too.
Yeah.
Maybe the second, I can't remember exactly.
I mean, it wasn't the movie's fault per se. I was tired and
At that point, yeah,
Yeah.
because you fell asleep before I...
the plot is, I guess, essentially there's like a witch cult kind of thing going on in a ballet school, and
in Italy, and
that's kind of like
new student.
from America.
Yeah, she's...
I want to say, I think New York to be specific, but
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. She arrives basically, and weird shit starts happening like the second she gets there.
yeah, she doesn't even get in the first day.
No, she's stuck in the rain and all that. But I love the imagery, the camera
I was
angles.
gonna say, from a filmmaking perspective, it's
beautiful, and the music's great. It's like so over the top, but I just
There's
love
a lot
it.
of camera
And
shots that are just, especially for the time. I don't see anything like this now, but then even for the time, I don't even know how he thought to do it. Like there's a whole thing going on. There's a girl looking at the window at one point, and the way he has things reflecting off the mirror, including her reflection, and then something that's hanging outside the window, and the way they work together to make another image in the window reflection is amazing.
Yeah, and
There's a whole shot when the girl's running at the beginning, and you see her running towards a building, and then it pans up, and you realize that the whole time that you saw her running at one
the
point.
reflection of like the puddle on the ground.
Yeah, and when she steps in the puddle, does a
Then
little
just
wave thing, and then the
pans
camera
up.
pans up. It's like that.
I love when she's running through the woods too. Before that, is that before that?
I don't think there's woods before that.
Well, it's like she gets to the school
Mm-hmm.
and she sees the girl run off in the taxi. She goes back in, turns around, and she's looking, and the music's playing, and it's just ridiculous. And she's like looking to the side. She sees the girl like running through the woods.
Okay, yeah.
And like it's simple, but like with the music, because like I said, the music is so over the top.
Didn't you say that guy did music for something else? Too?
Goblin. They did a lot of Italian stuff. They did Dawn of the Dead. I don't know if there's different versions that have different music for Dawn of the Dead. I can't remember which one has which one we've seen, or like what we've always watched his
It
old
sounded
DVDs.
kind
So.
of familiar.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I got that version.
Yeah, but after the intro, so much ridiculous stuff happens, and things kind of slow down.
Yeah. It gets ridiculous for probably like the first 5 minutes maybe, and then
5-10 minutes. It takes a little bit like
I don't
while it
even know if
opens
it's
up.
full 10. Yeah, I'm
But,
gonna
like,
say probably like
I
I
would
guess
say,
5 to
along
10.
with imagery, like it has this cool like surreal vibe to it, which like carries over into like the later scenes that aren't ridiculous. Like it is very just like dreamlike. Like when the girl in the beginning, I guess, someone gets murdered.
Yeah.
And like just the way they do it and draw it out is very just like odd in a way.
Well, it's off-putting because they do a lot of close-ups, and I mean it's blood from when was that made? Like is it 70s or 80s?
Yeah, it was like the 70s.
So I mean
Like
the
bright
blood,
red,
yeah, it was kind of ugly blood, but it still looked pretty brutal, and it was cool. I mean, it wasn't like the most graphic thing. It's not Hostile or anything like that, but
Yeah.
especially for the time period, I'm sure it was pretty off-putting.
Yeah, definitely.
And overall, though, I don't quite understand the hype. Like I said, from a filmmaking perspective, I can get it. But that's not what most people I see talking about it are discussing. They usually just talk about how it's a big staple point in the horror genre, but not so much about the filmmaking aspect of it.
I think I have heard. I've watched a couple reviews. It's been a while. I do remember a lot of it usually being about the imagery and stuff and like the way it looks in filmmaking. But yeah, I don't remember anyone talking about the plot itself either, though. So
No, never about the plot. And a lot of the times when I saw stuff, it was always them talking about how like brutal those movies are.
Yeah, and I've seen
And
his other movie, Deep Red, and especially early on, had a pretty brutal scene. He likes windows a lot, I'll say. Like,
well,
leave
I
it
mean,
at that,
the way he works with the camera, it makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, also just like don't go near a window in an Argento movie because it won't fucking end well for you. Once it gets to the plot, it's just hard to follow, I guess, because you're getting like a vague idea, and then suddenly, like, she's in the school, weird things are happening, you're kind of like, okay, what exactly is up?
Well, the whole point, it seems to be like you're supposed to try to find out what's going on with.
But then when they like basically straight up tell you what happens, it's like a scene where she's just talking to a guy and I think another guy, and they basically just drop all this information about like
the whole story to everything that's going on, and it just kind of like just gets thrown at you.
Yeah, and it's just like towards the end, and then it just happens, and I guess we'll get more spoilery now because that's
before we get into the spoilers, one other thing to mention that I thought was interesting and kind of cool that you told me about was how when they filmed it, they just had people speak their native language. So there'd be people in the same scene, but when they're filming, the one guy's speaking Italian and the one person's speaking English, and then they just overdub everything anyway.
Yeah, so
even the people always match.
Even the people speaking English, like, there's still like a disconnect.
Yeah, because they're dubbing over. Yeah.
Adds to the surreal kind of thing of it because everything's just kind of like, well, yeah. And I love me some surreal stuff.
Yeah, it was. I liked how they did that. I thought it was a really interesting take because I feel like that never happens anymore either. I don't even know if it really happened then.
It's a big Italian thing, honestly. I think.
Yeah.
Italian filmmaking.
And I don't really see a ton of that. So.
Yeah, I'll show them a couple. I still got to see more myself.
I want to see Deep Red, so that'll be up on the list eventually.
Yeah. But yeah, so after that, I guess
spoilers.
Not heavy spoilers, really, but. I don't even really know because I can't even name characters specifically. So like,
yeah.
I know Susie Bannion is the main character.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember, but I can't remember her name. But she kind of makes a friend, and like what I said, like there's so much stuff. It almost kind of towards the end it gets weird again. Things get more intense, but it disappoints me because anytime I did see anything relating to Suspiria, her one friend, she ends up falling in this barbed wire trap. She gets murdered, and later on, Susie's going through the school trying to find like the head witch, basically to like stop her. And beforehand, she sees her dead friend, and then she goes in and she's, like, confronting her. She's, like, invisible, the witch. And it's weird, but then she, like, summons in the friend. She, like, brings her back to life in some weird way. And her eyes are all, like, fucked up, and she's holding this knife. She's got this creepy laugh. And I always wanted to see that scene and see, like, what happens and how much happens.
And it's very anticlimactic.
But everything that happens in it is, like, what I had seen already when someone posts a clip of it. So, like, I love the way that looked and the lighting and everything. And then that's just it. And she just kind of walks towards her. And then Susie stabs the witch, and then like everyone starts dying, the place burns down, and then it ends. And like,
so it's like you could have had like a struggle or something, make it a bit more,
even like a chase, just to like more angles, more cool things happening with that girl. But she's already in the room with her, Yeah. Like she's a witch, maybe she can go somewhere else. You deal with the other people. I mean, the runtime it's like an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
But like I feel like you could have trimmed some things to have more time for that, even if they were even worried about that. But
yeah, It did seem very rushed at the end because they put a lot of build in the middle. Where I mean, sometimes I enjoyed the build, but then sometimes
there's some interesting things that happen. Some things just like ridiculous, so we kind of laugh at it because we always laugh at a lot.
Speaking of spoilers, I guess the blind guy there, I don't even understand what the whole purpose. The whole thing, it really had no reason to be in the movie. Like he doesn't even have a reason to be in the movie. Like,
no, he like plays piano. And his dog bites the boy, I guess.
Which I think it feels...
Is it because...
Yeah, it felt like they kind of forced that in there, like maybe like the kid was the cause of it, but don't really show you what happens.
And like it's like, or did the witches cause that? But it's like, why did they want the blind guy dead, I guess?
Yeah, like what they
want. For what reason? Other than like, did the dog actually just bite the boy? Because maybe the dog was like, no, I sense some weird stuff, but then like the dog ends up turning on him.
Which I think had something to do with the witches.
Yeah, like that does. So I get why that happened. I don't get what the purpose of it is.
Yeah, but if you took that entire character and all
you throw it out, it doesn't
It has no effect on anything.
It's just another death, really. And it's a fucking brutal death.
And now I'm thinking about it, maybe I just missed it, but with like the kind of, I'll call it a love interest for the main character, the guy.
Yeah.
Does anything happen with that? I feel like that just kind of goes away, and then like she kills the witch and runs out, and nothing comes.
I don't remember her telling anyone in the school, "Hey, this bitch is burning down.
No.
Get out." She runs out.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anyone else is involved with it. And there's some weird acting. That one girl who she randomly lives with, but then doesn't. Another plot point that's just like why?
Yeah.
Because it's like they're like, okay, you could stay with this person. Okay, it's very nice.
Yeah, she's just super weird every time you see her.
Squawk, squawk.
Yeah. Squawk. Yeah, she's fucking weird. And then she goes. Like, the first time you see her, she seems kind of like dark and gothy, and then the next time you see her,
she's very just like.
She's like wearing like she looks like a I don't know.
I said she was like budget Italian Princess Leia in the one outfit.
Yeah, like she's wearing like very like oligarchy style stuff. It's weird.
Yeah. And like I said, why does she stay with her just to like be told she can't? Like, are you supposed to be like, oh, these people are weird because they're very forceful about it? Oh no, well
they said like she could stay at the school now, but then she was like, oh, I like staying with her.
Yeah, and I guess they didn't like that.
Well, then they got her sick.
They did that weird thing.
And
with
the girl didn't want her to be there because she didn't want to get sick.
Yeah, but then it's just like, why did you even?
Yeah, the whole thing was just.
It's like weird setups just to show weird.
Did you really
scenes.
see that girl again? You barely ever even see that girl.
There's a lot of drop characters from what I recall. Like I said, I've watched it a few times, and I feel like I don't remember parts enough to even be able to be giving like a full review in a way. But at the same time, like, how many times do I have to watch this movie
before I could
like, why is this stuff not sinking in? Like, I've never had to.
I think the best way to put it is when it comes to if you want to make movies or are interested in like camera work and lighting and stuff, the movie is absolutely fantastic, and you should definitely check it out. Or even if, I mean, in certain ways, I guess.
You might like it.
Based on that,
you know.
I mean, you might like it anyway. But based on just things like that, even if you just like horror films, it's
something you got to see pretty much at some point.
Just because
it's Suspiria,
and you can see where like it definitely influences other films. But overall, I mean, it's really plot wise, it's so toss away.
Yeah,
I mean, there's really not much to take from the movie.
No,
you kind of
nothing like interesting. There's no you already know something's weird from the get go, so there's no like real like. To me, no interesting like twists to it. It's not like, oh, that one was a witch or whatever. Like everyone's weird. Even the one who's like that proper woman, like she's too proper. That like with the English accent, she's like
the one German chick though. She's like so angry. All the
time.
And
it's like there's no way you're a normal fucking person. Like,
well, and then like that with the butler dude, he looks like he's got like gigantism or something.
Yeah,
and they straight up tell him he's ugly, which it must be weird to be that actor.
Yeah, right.
They have like a whole scene where they're like, he's ugly. You can tell him he's ugly. He doesn't care. You're
Look,
ugly.
But then she also says he got his new teeth. Doesn't he look handsome? Like, which one is it, woman? Or was that supposed to be like a dig? Like, yeah, I told you he's ugly, but you know, let's get that done.
I don't know.
And then after she kills the witch, she's like running out. She looks over to that room they were all in earlier, and they're just all just like dying.
It's just whole thing. That's another thing. It's like they're all powerful witches, and like she just kind of ends it with like one
stab.
swoop. Yeah,
like just stabs.
Which I mean, it made sense to the plot in that way. Like the head witch, I guess, like controlled everything, but it just seemed very anticlimactic. Like she finally discovers that. I guess the whole point that they were trying to go for was just that the discovery of the fact that it's like a witch cult. But you kind of get that. Off the bat.
Like you know something's not right immediately. Like
I mean, like immediately I would have been like I would have just gone home.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat, like the first day, I would have been like.
And then there's the maggot thing.
Yeah, the maggot thing that really didn't make any sense either. Like what was the whole?
That happens.
But like, what was the point in that? Like, what caused it?
What caused it was like rotting food upstairs. But was it really rotting food?
Yeah.
Like,
why was the food up there rotting?
And
it's
like then like all it led to was that weird scene where like it looked really cool where
they're living and
they're like in like the curtains and there's all the red light everywhere and the headmaster, she's like, that's her, because the girl says, like, I've heard that breathing before. But
yeah,
it's
she
like,
was supposed to be on a business trip.
Yeah, or she's not supposed to be at the school in one way or the other, and it's like, oh, she is here. So, like, I guess. But at that point, you could just had a mysterious headmaster, mistress, whatever the hell, in the school that no one really sees, and she's just, like, secretive. And then,
and so they made, like, this whole weird plot thing with maggots and stuff to make a scene where you are like, oh, there's someone here that shouldn't be.
It's like setups for really cool-lking stuff. That plot-wise makes no sense. The blind guy getting murdered.
It just was there to like. Well, that one was just completely unnecessary.
Well, even then, like I think he just wanted to show another death like midway through the movie because it kind of like doesn't have much going on in that way.
And that death really wasn't even.
I mean, I thought it was like it kind of sucks. I end up feeling bad for the blind guy because he just gets like shit on, and then he's leaving, and he's like, "Fuck you! I know my goddamn dog." That kid must have fucked with him, and then all of a sudden, like the dog's ripping at his fucking throat, and you just see him dead laying there, and the dog going at it, and they cut the shots like you don't see the meat getting pulled directly from the guy, but you see the dog, so it's like kind of like, oh, that's a terrible way. He's probably not even exactly dead yet. Like
how when he's yelling and he gets all mad, he's like, if you're the woman he's yelling at, he's like. Nowhere
blind.
I know, but like the fact that they didn't even attempt to make it almost seemed like they were like trying to be like
he's blind. Like you watch a show like Daredevil and really, like the actor like really researched how blind people like behave and like deal with it and like people always say like people made complaints like he like kind of like looks at people but doesn't like well yeah because they can hear and sense like they kind of have an idea where you are so like they're not going to stand there and be like
Which is why I don't understand why the blind guy was yelling over there when she's
It's like an old comedy. Like you see like an old comedy movie where there's a blind guy, and the comedy is just that he's blind, so he has no idea where the fuck he is.
Yeah, but I mean, that's why I said it just felt weird because like there's not really any comedy in the movie.
No,
aside from picking on a blind guy.
Yeah, or like just like I said, we laugh at a lot of things in movies, even when it's supposed to be like dead serious.
Yeah,
because we have issues, I guess, or just don't take things seriously ever. So I don't know.
I guess that's our take of the movie.
Yeah,
it's good.
If you like it, you probably maybe you'll hate us if you really love the movie. I don't know. I'm sorry. It's
like I said, the filmmaking.
Things I love about it, but there's a lot that I'm just like I watched it again to show you.
Yeah,
and he fell asleep the one time I tried to sit through it again. And then by the end of it, like once they got back to that, like those guys just dropping all this fucking exposition about all this and that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go home, and I just left you on the fucking couch.
like I said, filmmaking perspective of it, it's fantastic, but story, it's pretty crappy.
Yeah.
So that's our take on Suspiria.
Yeah. So maybe we'll have more of these up.
Hopefully you guys like it.
Be it horror or music related.
Yeah. Most of our movies that we're going to do are more than likely going to be horror, music driven, but maybe every once in a while we'll sprinkle something else in. See how it goes.
Mention some movies. You could do that too.
Yeah, suggest a movie
for us to check out.
Especially if they're weird. I like B-rated horror films.
If it's
we're
bad,
going to have a lot of them. Really, so bad that they're good.
Yeah,
let
hopefully,
us
know.
We might talk about The Room one of these days.
Well, that's been done to death too.
Maybe we won't. But maybe we will.
Never know. It's the witches! The witches are doing it!
I know you missed it. I did too.
It's like the only thing it fits for. But waft it. Gotta get in.